Hello, Professor. This is Alejandra Blanco. I will be discussing my knowledge into competencies today, which are the information literacy and quantitative reasoning. Okay. The first competency I used was the information literacy. According to the syllabus, it is the ability to identify, retrieve, evaluate, organize, cite properly, and use a wide range of resources, including print, graphic, and electronic for independent learning and practical problem solving. At the completion of the general education curriculum, students should be able to determine the nature and extent of the information needed, select the most appropriate investigative methods or information retrieval systems for accessing the needed information, evaluate information and its sources critically, use information effectively to accomplish a specific purpose, access and use information ethically and legally. Okay, so this is a research paper that was written for a conference in Model United Nations class. Before this conference, the students who each represented a different committee for Spain had to do wide and in-depth research on their topic. Mine was the Women's Committee. In this paper, I identify, retrieve, evaluate, organize, cite, and use a wide range of resources from different articles, books, big data, and others. This research took me almost 2 semesters. The following paragraphs I'll be reading demonstrate my skills on information literacy. So, of course, delegation from the Kingdom of Spain, my name Alejandra Blanco, and Mercy College. Position paper for the Commission on the Status of Women. The topics before the Commission on the Status of Women, CSW, are enhancing women's role in peace processes and political transactions, realizing the rights of indigenous women and women's economic empowerment in a changing world of work. The Kingdom of Spain is dedicated to integrating a gender perspective in peace, security, human rights, economic empowerment, and sustainable development. Enhancing women's role in peace processes and political transactions. Throughout history, women's roles in post-conflict processes have been overlooked and limited to non-security and political sectors. Long-lasting peace requires the engagement of women in all sectors. Women are affected differently by war than men and have a unique impact on post-war peace policies. Diverse responses with different outlooks and skills bring better results in post-conflict processes. Based on the analytical data from the Uppsala Peace Agreement Project, results demonstrated that when more women are politically involved, there is a higher percentage of success and longer-lasting impact on peace. Half of the peace agreements failed within 5 years of signature. This is because neither root conflict causes nor prevention or resurgence of conflict are addressed. In 2010, the United Nations Development Fund for Women discovered that less than 10% of negotiators and 3% of all of those who sign peace agreements are women. The Windhoek Declaration builds a foundation for the Women, Peace and Security agenda by highlighting the key UN bodies and policy areas. It is also implemented that women's equal leadership in political, economic, and social spheres is crucial to political stability. CSW has also engaged with other UN bodies and member states to engender mainstream peace processes and political transitions by including the Department of Peacekeeping Operations, the Peace Building Commission, the Department of Political Affairs, and the Security Council. CSW has also contributed to the framework for the WPS agenda and in its resolution 1997-27 on women in power and decision making, providing the balance that is needed to strengthen democracy. As stated in 2015 and 2017 document, Spanish priority for the Security Council, Spain will promote the effective application of resolution on WPS and will support the active involvement of women in peace-building processes. Topic number 2, realizing rights of indigenous women. Indigenous women have been experiencing challenges that impede the complete recognition of their rights, which include socioeconomic discrimination, the denial of access to economic resources, loss of the collective rights of their territories, and discrimination of their rights to education and health. The lack of access to services and opportunities is due to systemic effects accumulated over time, forming structural disadvantages. Indigenous women face different forms of marginalization, confronted with pervasive human rights abuse through physical, sexual, and psychological violence. Research indicates that Indigenous women have a higher risk and experience more violence compared to the average women population. Given the systemic nature of violence against Indigenous women, it must be addressed as a systemic issue by underlying causes and risk factors. The central framework guiding the promotion of Indigenous women's rights is the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action in 1995 and its follow-up provisions. After 25 years of negotiation, in 2007 the General Assembly adopted the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. Subsequently, CSW adopted two resolutions regarding Indigenous women: CSW 49 Beijing Resolution 497 and CSW 56 in 2012. And topic number 3, women's economic empowerment in a changing world of work. According to the United Nations Statistics Division, 52.9% of the global population of women are not employed. Over the past 30 years, there have been important advances towards gender equality and economic empowerment, resulting in a decrease in poverty. Despite all the processes made, statistics continue to show that women are more likely to be unemployed than men and have to work 79 more days a year to reach same pay as men. From 1995 to 2015, women's involvement in the global workforce decreased by more than 5% due partly to the global economy recession that originated in 2008. Unequal pay is also common in high-earning fields dominated by men, such as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. According to a study by the World Bank, of 143 states, almost 90% had at least one legal regulation that restricted the economic opportunities for women. 79 states had laws that restricted jobs accessible for women, and in 50 states, husbands can object and prevent women from accepting jobs, obtaining land, and credit. The issue is not only non-enforcement or lack of awareness, but rather gender discrimination by law, leaving women vulnerable and exposing them to discrimination and exploitation. The Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women contains Articles 7 and 8, which calls for equal opportunities for men and women, as well as Article 14 recognizes the critical role played by rural women in the economic survival of their communities. In 1995, the Fourth World Conference on Women took place in Beijing, and the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action was adopted. Okay. So I also attached screenshots of works cited to prove my ability to find relevant sources to prove my point. Okay, so here you can see I got research and information from the UN and the United Nations, World Bank, and many other sources. The other competency I will discuss is quantitative reasoning. According to the syllabus, quantitative reasoning involves the ability to use established methods of computation and contemporary technology to analyze issues and answer questions germane to their environment. Model relevant information into a mathematical representation. Use logic and calculation to solve problems. Use quantitative information to support an argument or make an inference. Analyze quantitative data to make judgments and draw conclusions. Use computing technology to solve problems efficiently and effectively. The following show knowledge of this competency. So, in this paper for my statistics class, I resolved statistical problems and answered questions that needed logic. Calculations, computer technology, and conclusions were drawn. So here are the questions. According to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, stated in 2011 that 13.7% of all accidents involving a teenager was caused by distracted driving. 3 years later, in 2014, that percentage had risen up to 22.1%. There were a random sample of 50 teenagers involved in vehicle accidents. Was selected from each year. Using the given information, answer the following questions. What is the likelihood that no teenager is either sample was involved in a car accident?